This video is about how to cite sources. Your first stop should always be an online academic database like Galileo or JSTOR. You have access to these or other academic databases through your university's library homepage or through a public library. Once you've located an article on the database, look for a button that says Cite or Cite this item. That button will bring up this screen, which shows you the correct MLA citation for your source. Note that on this database, JSTOR, the date you access the page isn't included, so you'll have to add it, as I've done here. On Galileo, another academic database, the button is a little harder to find, but it's still there. I've circled it here in red. Once you click Cite, you'll have to scroll down using the bar I've selected in green until you find the MLA citation, selected again in red. Note that the MLA citation here already has the date accessed included. Here's an example of a works cited page that has multiple citations on it. Notice how the citations appear in alphabetical order according to author last name, and each has a hanging indent. In other words, the first line is aligned left, but all other lines within that citation have been tabbed over once. To create a hanging indent, you either hold down the Control key and press Tab on the line you want to move, or you tap the Enter key once and then press Tab. But what do you do if your source isn't from an online database? First, you have to carefully evaluate your source to make sure it's acceptable. Ask yourself these questions. Is it a recognizable publication like the New York Times, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, Al Jazeera? Does the article have an author? Does it have a publishing date? Does the site look professional? Have you avoided all student help sites like Shmoop or SparkNotes? If you answered no to any of those, you might not want to use the source. Let's look at this source. It's from a recognizable publication, The Atlantic. It has an author, Kathy Gilsonen, and it has a publication date, April 2nd, 2016. So far, so good. If we decide to use this source, though, our next stop is the Purdue OWL. We can find the right page by going to Google and typing in Purdue OWL MLA Citation, then clicking on the first link. That brings us to this page. Next, we scroll down until we find the guidelines for our source. In this instance, an article in a web magazine. Following these instructions, we get the following pattern. Last name, first name, the title of the article in quotation marks, the title of the web magazine in italics, the publisher name, the publication date, and the medium through which we access the source. Finally, the date of access. Now, let's go back to our article and make a citation. Our author is Kathy Gilsonen. Our article is How Should the World Respond to Terrorism? The web magazine is The Atlantic. The publisher is Atlantic Media. It was published on April 2nd, 2016, and we accessed it via the web on April 3rd, 2016. All that information can be found on the article itself except for one part, the publishing organization. To find that, we'll need another tool, Whois. You can either access whois.icann.org or whois.net. Both of these will tell you about the publishing information. If we go to whois.icann.org and type in theatlantic.com, we get this. Here you can see that Atlantic Media is the controlling organization and the publisher. You may wonder why that information matters, but it might be the most important information of all. For example, here is the whois.net page for the website martinlutherking.org. As you can see from the red box, the organization that publishes this webpage is Stormfront, a neo-Nazi white supremacist group. Obviously, the information they have on their website will be biased, racist, and false. Who publishes content is extremely important. I hope you've learned a lot from the How to Cite Sources video. If you have any questions, look through the Purdue OWL, as they always have great information, or feel free to contact a peer or your instructor.